metal umlaut, a 3D cover, and the honeymoon capital of the world, all coming up here on Northern Vinyl Guy. Hello everyone, I'm Daryl, and I'm coming back at you with another episode of Canadiana here on the Northern Vinyl Guy here on YouTube. And it's a segment where we focus on some Canadian bands that I have in my collection and musicians, and kind of go over why I like them and appreciate them. And just to give you some insight, maybe you'll pick up a record or copy one of these days, and you'll enjoy them just as much as I do. As with all my other videos, if you have not yet subscribed, please click the subscribe button, please leave a like, and leave some friendly comments down below. Let me know your thoughts on these bands, whether you've heard of them, and whether you have them in your own collection. So without further ado, I am going to, this is in no particular order, but mainly chronological. And so what I'd like to do is I'm going to be starting with my first band, and that is A Foot in Cold Water. This is a band from Toronto, and they were popular in Canada in the 1970s. Kind of classified as, I guess, hard rock, although they do a lot of soft rock. In fact, their main hits are definitely mellow, kind of what you would listen to at a high school dance. Although some of their harder stuff, I mean, I find that some of it does have some, you know, I would think it's got some Led Zeppelin influence based on the guitars, maybe a little bit of the singing. This particular album here is the All Around Us album. I'm having a hard time reading this. Silver and white lettering on an album. That's the one thing about this album that I don't like, especially when it's night out. It is hard to read the font on the back, but this is the one, this is the album that has Make Me Do Anything You Want on it, which was a hit that went to the top 10 in 1974. You know, they did have a couple of other singles on this album. Love Is Coming and Isn't Love Unkind in My Life. Yeah, so those are some of the cool songs that are on this particular album, and just kind of thought I'd show you the logo of this. I thought it was kind of cool. This is the insert that came with it. Always kind of neat to see. I wonder what people were writing on there, but you can kind of see a little scribble here at the top of the sheet there. So definitely some cool stories, I'm sure. And this came on the Daffodil label. I always thought the Daffodil label was really cool looking. So there you have it, a little bit of A Foot in Cold Water, band from Toronto, 1974. All right, next up, got a little bit of Dan Hill from 1987, and this is his second eponymous album, so it's just a self-titled deal. And this one actually has 3 major hits, Dan Hill being another artist from Toronto and the GTA, and this album was actually released 10 years after his other, you know, Billboard charting song. So it was actually quite a lengthy period of time, 1977 and 1987, before he had some additional hits that made the top 40 on the Billboard charts. And once again, this, like A Foot in Cold Water, he is definitely got some soft rock vibes. And if you are familiar with the Ally McBeal TV series, there's actually a duet that he does here with Vonda Shepard, who was involved in 5 different soundtracks for the Ally McBeal show from 1998 to the early 2000s. So this album here features 3 singles. It would have Can't We Try, that's the one with Vonda Shepard, Never Thought That I Could Love, and Carmelia. Now each of these songs, I think Can't We Try, yeah, it went to number 6 in the United States. and never thought that I could love it. Didn't crack the top 40, but it just came short at number 43. Carmelia did not chart at all. One song that I actually found quite interesting on this particular album is called USA USSR, and that's on the backside. And if you have a chance to listen to it, based on some of the current political atmosphere in our world right now, that song, it was written kind of about the Cold War and the United States and Russia trying to come together as friends and all this kind of stuff. And if you think about our world today, it's almost as if we've gone backwards compared to some of the lyrics that Dan Hill had suggested in his song. But I actually think that this album is top quality, start to finish. At the same time, it was mastered by Bob Ludwig. He's known for mastering other major musicians. You've made it big. I think he mastered Bruce Springsteen and definitely quite a few other bands. He's really well known for that. And so, yeah, Sometimes When We Touch in 1977 from his Longer Fuse album had cracked the top 10. I believe it went to number 3. And it was another 10 years until this album was released and came through with some of his other major hits. A few albums after this, he did have a couple of other hits, but then Dan Hill has not cracked the top 40 since then. So if you have a chance, little Dan Hill and his second eponymous album from 1987. Very cool stuff, and you can tell it's an album from the 80s, as it does have the scan bar, the barcode here at the top. So if you're ever on Discogs and you want to make it easier on yourselves, you can always tell an album from the 80s, late 70s with those barcodes. Cool stuff. All right, number 3 on the list this is an unusual situation, but Canada does have a band that has an umlaut in its name, and this is the band Frozen Ghost. And what an umlaut is, if you are not sure, you can see above the letters here, the O, both O's, they've got a dot there. Bands like Motley Crue with the 2 dots above them doesn't really affect the sound of those. But this is another self-titled album, I do believe. Yeah, this is Frozen Ghost, 1987 once again. And this is a band from Toronto as well. They are known for their major hit song Should I See, which is on here, but they've also done a few others on some of their other albums, and that is one of the only songs, I believe, Should I See, that cracked the top 40 on the US rock charts. It went to number 4. Very cool song about anti-censorship, during a time period when, especially with bands like Twisted Sister in the 1980s were, different government organizations and religious institutions were trying to shut these bands down from being played on mainstream radio, and Should I See kind of comes with that kind of as a protest. How dare you kind of censor what I'm going to say? I mean, as long as it's within reason. The lyrics are top notch on this. They also released a second single from this, which was Promises, which failed to crack the top 40 in the United States in the Billboard charts. But other songs that are really cool on this, Frozen Ghost is a Canadian rock band. I just love some of the solos on Beware the Mask, Love Like a Fire, and the first track on side 2, which is called End of the Line. Fantastic music here. I really strongly encourage you to check them out. And if you're not familiar with them, but you are familiar with a band from the 70s and early 80s called Sheriff, the 2 singers that are in this band, what are their names? Arnold Lanny and Wolf Hassel formed Sheriff, who were known for that song When I'm With You, which definitely cracked Billboard Top 40 early 1980s. So yeah, Frozen Ghost, check them out. I have a couple of their albums in my collection. One album that I wish that is their third album. It is only released on CD, but I would love to get a copy of that. I hope that they release it on vinyl, but I don't think it's coming anytime soon. All right. Speaking of Toronto and the GTA, it wouldn't be fitting if I didn't include the band Toronto, from Toronto, as part of this episode here, and their album Girls Night Out. This is a really cool album. If you have a pair of 3D glasses, I don't have a pair of 3D glasses. I'm going to have to get some, but the cover of this is all in 3D. I'm not 100% sure what it's supposed to look like with the glasses on because I haven't seen it, but I'm assuming that the roller coaster that's on here and whatnot is would be a pretty cool picture in 3D. They are known, at least off of this album, for the songs Girls Night Out and Ready to Make Up. If you're familiar with the song Your Daddy Don't Know, they were also recording that previous to this. I think it was a couple albums before this. This album here is from 1983. I would classify, and I think most music gurus would classify this band as 1980s new wave. And this band features Holly Woods. She formed on all five of the albums that they recorded in the 1980s. She's got a rockin' voice, and some rockin' guitars on here. As much as it is new wave, there is some pretty cool rock stuff. I think my favorite song on this is Ready to Make Up, although Standing In, All Night Love Affair, Those Eyes, some pretty cool tracks here on this album. And on the backside, you can see there she is, Hollywood, right here. Hollywood's in the red. So pretty cool stuff right there. So awesome stuff, Toronto. And then my final album for today is the band that actually kind of named themselves after the honeymoon capital of the world, where they were formed, and that is Niagara Falls, and that is the band Honeymoon Suite. And this album here is a self-titled eponymous album. So on Rob Walker's 2024 vinyl tag, there was a question on there where he asked to name kind of an album where it's a greatest hits album. And I would actually say that this particular album here, I wouldn't call it a greatest hits album, but I would say that side one is a greatest hits side. When it comes to rock and music and Canadian bands, I would actually state that one of my top 5 Canadian songs of all time, Burnin' in Love, is on this album. And this album here features New Girl Now, Burnin' in Love, Wave Babies, and Stay in the Light. And you can see that that's Honeymoon Suite there on the back. So some pretty cool stuff right there. So I really encourage you to check it out. I'm not a huge fan of side 2 on this. In fact, I could do without side 2. But as I like to encourage people to listen to these bands, and I like to promote Canadian bands, I mean, go for it. Buy this album. I believe you can find this album for like $5 or $10. It's not an extremely expensive album. So yeah, here we go. We've got 5 bands from the Greater Toronto Area, the GTA. All right, so there you go. Here's your 5 bands from Canadiana Part 2. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'd like to see you next time. Please feel free to leave some comments, subscribe, and click the like button. We will see you next time on Northern Vinyl Guy.